herself. Not until she's had time to play. The nurse, either unaware of or ignoring her patient's growing distress, shook her head and laughed, the deep, hearty laugh of a woman who'd seen more new mothers than she cared to remember. All of them were the same in this moment, sweaty and exhausted and worn thin, but aching for their babes. No, her arm isn't inside you. Her arm never grew at all. See how smooth and rounded the skin is? That means there was nothing there to be torn away. This is how she was made. She's perfect as she is. She scooped the baby out of the warmer where she had been placed for cleaning and offered her to the frightened teen whose heartbeat the baby's body knew better than its own. You can hold her if you'd like. No, blurted the girl. Still torn open, bloody and bleeding and in an immeasurable amount of pain, she rolled away from the nurse and infant, almost toppling off the narrow birthing bed. At the last second, she caught herself and wobbled in place, not falling to the floor. Pushing herself into a sitting position, she swung her legs around and stood, lurching for the door. The nurses who had overseen the birth watched this with silent interest and, in some cases, amusement. This wasn't the first time many of them had seen an unmarried girl flee rather than face the consequences of her actions, even when those consequences had healthy lungs and all the parts that truly mattered. An arm? A hand? Pah, what was a hand? One was enough to let the girl bathe and dress herself, and work when the time came. 2 hands were a luxury, and not necessary for a child who had no reason to aspire to great things. The girl reached the door and staggered out of the room, leaving a trail of blood behind, never once looking back. The head nurse sighed and looked down at the child. She'll have the paperwork completed to leave you here and be gone before we finish cleaning you, if I read her right, little songbird, she said, a hint of regret in her voice. And I do read her right. I've been doing this for 30 years and I've never guessed wrong. Do you want me to go after her, ma'am? Asked one of the junior nurses anxiously. And do what? Turn her into a different person altogether? Not enough magic left in all of Russia for that. The law says she can surrender her baby, and if that's what she desires to do, that's what will be done. As for this little songbird, we'll get her cleaned up, wait to see if the mother returns, and surrender her to the home if not. I see, said the junior nurse, somewhat disapproving. The head nurse made silent note of her tone. They'd be discussing that later. For the moment, she had to focus on the baby, and so she carried her back to the warming box, humming an old song her grandmother used to sing to her about the river that ran from one end of the world to the other, never stopping, never slowing. By the time she put the baby down, the girl was staring at her with wide, fascinated blue eyes. The head nurse smiled. You understand nothing, little songbird, but even a stone can comprehend kindness. You'll have time enough to learn, I promise you. The girl, who had never given her name or named her daughter, did not return, and so the baby was surrendered to the nearest orphanage, a state-run institution for wards of Mother Russia. She was not the only infant with a visible deformity, nor the worst off of the new arrivals. Having never possessed a right hand, she didn't miss it, and did perfectly well with her left, navigating and manipulating her world as adroitly as any other child. If certain tasks would always be more difficult for her, well, wasn't that true of everyone? No single person could do absolutely everything without aid. And so her own limitations weren't limitations at all, merely different standards. They named her Nadezhda, a good traditional name with plenty of room for her to grow into it, and they called her Nadya. And she was a good, sweet child who grew swift and straight as a reed, strong of back and swift of eye and quick to help the other children with their tasks, seeming to see without being informed how they could turn their collective weaknesses into strengths, all by combining them into a united front. On the rare occasions when prospective parents came sniffing around the home for adorable new additions to their family, it was Nadya